Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. We're talking about severe weather here on tonight's live stream. Definitely appreciate everybody joining here. If you have not yet pressed the like button, definitely press it down below. And it definitely gets this live stream out to more and more people. So I definitely appreciate it. If you guys are not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, now is the time to subscribe as well. Go watch my weather forecast video here. The weather forecast video was posted this morning. I post those every morning at 9 a.m. And you can also follow me on Twitter down below at hweather420. Follow me on Twitter. I post daily or sometimes at least a few times a week posts on Twitter about the weather forecast. You guys can get that on there. But looking here at the severe weather forecast, we have three areas we're watching here really through the rest of the next couple of hours. We're just seeing a marginal risk up here into portions of the eastern Ohio Valley, getting into the mid-Atlantic. This is for western New York, getting into western Pennsylvania, into eastern Ohio, and then into northeastern Kentucky as well. And then a very small sliver here of West Virginia as well is under that marginal risk for severe storms. Then kind of in between that for like Tennessee, the Carolinas, Georgia, including the Atlanta area, Nashville, and then getting into portions of Florida and Alabama. We're just seeing general thunderstorms. That's with the lighter green area here. So all of these areas in between and across portions of the Tennessee Valley, the southeast here into Florida, these areas are all right. We're just seeing some general thunderstorms through the rest of this evening. Then we're watching another area down here for some lingering severe weather potential this evening as well. Again, this is dwindling before our very eyes, but we still could be seeing some severe storms across Mississippi, including the Jackson area here, getting back into portions of Louisiana and southeastern Arkansas. And then another area farther south. This is back now down into southern Texas here near the Rio Grande Valley. This is down toward the Brownville, Texas region and getting in towards the Corpus Christi area. We do have a small yellow shaded color here. That's a level 2 out of 5 here. That is a slight risk of severe storms. Mainly some hail producers down across this region is what we are seeing. So definitely watching out for some severe weather. And again, looking at the tornado threat through the rest of this evening, we do see a small 2% shading for tornadoes. That's that darker green here across eastern Louisiana to west central Mississippi. This does encompass the Jackson area, Monroe, Louisiana, Alexandria, and then making its way farther south toward Hattiesburg and the Baton Rouge area as well. That goes through the rest of this evening. Matter of fact, let's look down here. We actually do have a severe thunderstorm warning for Jackson, Mississippi right now. So let's kind of look at this storm real quick. Let's go over to the radar here. And let's see what's happening. Let's use the Jackson, Mississippi radar. And we do have a thunderstorm ongoing here. Again, just a broken line of storms right now, and I'll put this in loop so you guys can see the trajectory. These storms are moving mainly from west-northwest to east-southeast. So these are kind of moving through central Mississippi right now. And we do currently have a severe thunderstorm warning. So this is for downtown Jackson, Mississippi. And this is for southwestern Rankin County, southeastern Hinds County, until 7 o'clock this evening. It's moving east at 25 miles per hour, and the hazard with this storm is 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail. So, again, if you live in Jackson, the Byram area, that's pushing through your area as we speak. It'll be pushing into Richland, Mississippi around 6:35, and then Pearl, Mississippi around 6:40. This is all central time, okay? So this is central Mississippi. Definitely be looking out for that severe thunderstorm. So nothing too crazy, just some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, quarter-size hail, but definitely if you're caught outdoors with that storm as it's pushing through, we could be talking about some trouble here. So that is what we are currently seeing here. And let's kind of put this back, go all the way back here. You can see the storm is pushing through Jackson right now, and you should be good, I think, in Jackson, Mississippi in about an hour or so. So once this storm moves through, you should be good in about an hour or so's time. So we're going to continue to monitor these storms. Farther north, just the storms up here into northeastern Mississippi, up toward the Tupelo region. We're not too concerned about these. These are just producing some heavier rain showers and some lightning and thunder and stuff like that. We're not too concerned about these storms farther up into northeastern Mississippi, but we will keep an eye on them. So if you're in Starkville, back toward Greenwood, Tupelo up here, you may be seeing some showers and storms. Tupelo right now is dry, but Starkville seeing the heaviest of the rainfall to your south and east. This will be approaching the Philadelphia, Mississippi region, and then eventually the Meridian area. I'll be watching you guys over here in Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, up toward the Gadsden area, Jasper, see if we get any more storms to fire off here as this entire line of rain and showers and stuff pushes farther to the east. So this is what we're seeing. This will continue through the rest of this evening. All of this is pushing this way toward the east. So we're going to continue to monitor this again over the next few hours. But I think most of this in general will be garden variety type of thunderstorms. Good for springtime. You guys have the nice green lawns down in these areas. So definitely be greening up over the next couple of weeks with all the rain, especially with what we'll be seeing into next week. If you guys haven't watched my video that goes more into depth about what we could see next week as well. Is it going to be bad for Central Alabama? I don't think so. It looks like right now for Central Alabama, if you're talking about like the Gadsden, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Montgomery areas, all you guys are fine for right now. As this approaches here, this whole line of, or at least broken line of showers and storms from the west-northwest pushes this way toward the east and southeast, it will be losing its punch a little bit. The instability is going to start to lessen after sunset, so I'm not too concerned about a severe weather threat, but definitely some heavy rain and some thunder and lightning. So definitely want to be indoors across central Alabama over the next few hours as this does push on through. Does Lake Michigan play a role in Michigan not getting severe weather? That's a good question. Sometimes. It depends on how cold the temperatures are on the lake. So the cooler temperatures usually affect more of Wisconsin and Illinois, especially if you get that easterly wind that pushes over the lake of Lake Michigan. But for Michigan, again, yeah, it's possible. If you get a westerly wind, it could affect the western side of the state there toward like the Kalamazoo area and down there toward maybe like northern Indiana. That definitely is a possibility. But again, it's just kind of one of those setups that's you don't really know until it gets closer. That's kind of what Lake Michigan does. So it's hard to forecast severe weather. I'll admit it's hard to forecast severe weather around Lake Michigan because of those factors. With the wind direction, it's all about the wind direction and also how cold the lake waters are. So that is what is key for that. And again, thanks everybody for joining. April Brooks, Dawn, thank you as well to Tim and Linda and Clayton, Joe, all you guys. Thank you so much for joining. And Matt Mittens, I appreciate it. Again, press that like button down below, guys. Spread this information out. And let's kind of look ahead, too. Let's look ahead to tomorrow's threat. This is for your Saturday. I know everybody's eager to get to the weekend. We're just about into Saturday. And you see we have a severe weather threat across the eastern United States. Not too often have we seen severe weather this year across the East Coast. But here we go. We got a slight risk of severe weather. This gets into the Maryland region, so all the way up even into the Washington, D.C. metro area, we have a slight risk for severe storms up here. That extends farther south into the eastern Carolinas there for North and South Carolina and eastern Virginia. This goes through your Saturday afternoon and evening time frame, and even that marginal risk extends farther north from there. So this includes much more of the Baltimore region, Dover there, Salisbury into the Delaware and Maryland regions, even farther north into the Harrisburg area, Philadelphia, just outside the Trenton area there in New Jersey. So that's what we're going to be keeping an eye on going through Saturday. The southernmost extent of the severe weather actually will be down here across portions of coastal Georgia, so Savannah, Georgia, down into Florida. This is for portions of the Jacksonville region, Gainesville, Orlando, and then maybe as far south as like Daytona Beach and the Palm Bay region. So those are the areas we're keeping an eye on for your Saturday out there for severe storms. So let's kind of go over some of the hazards, what these storms could bring to the table tomorrow. Tornado-wise, it's a low threat, so we're not too concerned about a tornado outbreak. However, there is a 2% shading here for tornadoes in this dark green color. So this is about this is a 2 to a 4% chance of tornadoes in this area. So there's a 2 to 4% chance of tornadoes in this area as we go into your Saturday. So if you live in Eastern Virginia, into like the Richmond, Virginia Beach area, maybe up to Washington, D.C., just outside the Baltimore area to the south, getting down into like Fayetteville, Greenville, there into North Carolina, that's where we have that 2 to 4% chance of an isolated tornado or two with the storms on your Saturday. Looking at the damaging wind potential now, you do see there's a 15% shading for damaging winds that could be in excess of 60 miles per hour. This is, again, across Maryland, getting down through eastern Virginia and the eastern Carolinas, a lesser threat farther south into coastal Georgia and Florida. And then finally, looking at the hail threat here, it does look like we're going to see, again, a 15% shading with the yellow color here across Maryland, getting down into eastern Virginia and the eastern Carolinas again, with a lesser hail threat down into coastal Georgia and Florida, and also farther north there into Maryland. So there is a threat, again, winds over 60 miles per hour. We have quarter-size hail or slightly larger in some spots, and a couple isolated tornadoes. Those are your threats going into Saturday across parts of the East Coast. Again, the main threat zone will be from Maryland down into eastern Virginia and the eastern Carolinas, with some areas outside of that area into like Delaware, northern portions of Maryland, getting down into coastal Georgia, North Florida. We could be seeing some rogue strong thunderstorms going through the day on Saturday. What is El Nino and La Nina? I've never understood it. Well, El Nino is, okay, so what that means is if you look at the sea surface temperatures, it has to do with the ocean. So if you look at the sea surface temperatures and you go down to the equator on the Pacific Ocean, so where the equator is on the Pacific Ocean, and you put your hand on that, where if the temperatures of the water are warmer, that is an El Nino. If the temperatures of the water around the equatorial Pacific Ocean is cooler or colder, that is considered a La Nina. And if it's kind of a mix between the both, like we see right now, we're seeing the transition period now, that's an ENSO neutral stage in climate. So that's what we're seeing right now. But we are transitioning to El Nino, but very good question. In all the phases, El Nino, La Nina, and ENSO neutral, they all have different characteristics of how the weather patterns are in our part of the world. So it definitely affects everybody, not just the United States. It affects Canada, Mexico, the Middle East. La Nina and El Nino have a global impact on our weather patterns. Does El Nino mean more tornadoes in Alabama? It's possible. It does mean more severe weather farther south. So I will say that El Nino here, I'll kind of zoom it out. I know we're kind of getting off topic here a little bit. Because if you guys want to know, again, I'm all about educational stuff on here. So what an El Nino is basically it brings the weather pattern and the jet stream a little farther south. So you see more of these subtropical jets farther south like this. And you see more of the low pressure systems down here into like Texas. But for La Nina, you see more of a kind of a northerly jet stream and a little more amplified. So you kind of see more troughs in the west and stuff like this with La Nina, where you have ridges in the east, you have troughs in the west, and that's where you have a low pressure system developing there, and it usually tracks to the northeast. That's kind of more of a classic La Nina pattern, and usually in La Nina, it leads to heavier rain in like the Ohio Valley in this area. But for El Nino, that leads to more rainfall overall across these areas I just circled across the southern and southeastern United States, and it's drier across the north usually with El Nino. Now, with that said, the El Nino will not be fully impactful for us until the fall and winter of this upcoming year. So even going through the rest of spring and into summer, the El Nino is not going to be in play too much. We're still going to be an ENSO neutral until probably about late May or even June. And really then it's still going to be into a weak stage of El Nino. So we don't fully get into true El Nino status until probably into the middle and late summer, and especially fall and winter. And again, La Nina, ENSO neutral, and also El Nino are more impactful during the cold season. So you notice them more during the fall and winter months for sure. So that's what we're seeing. But with your question in particular, again, just to make you understand, El Nino definitely with the southern storm track, it definitely leads to more Great Plains severe setups like this here. We've been seeing a lot more of that lately. We're going to continue to see that, so we're going to see more tornado potential here, and it's also going to set up more of the Dixie Alley region in the southeast as well with severe weather. But I will say, with El Nino, even with an active storm track across the south, that does not mean we're going to see massive tornado outbreaks like we've seen on the end of March going into April this year. That does not mean that, but it does mean that we're going to start to transition more of the severe weather farther towards the south. With that said, though, it doesn't mean these areas up here are absent from severe weather, because they're certainly not. There's definitely some patterns in the weather that could emerge through summer and even late spring that could override El Nino, and we could see more of kind of a neutral pattern even into that El Nino phase. So there's a lot of things that go into this, okay? So I know there was another volcano eruption and all that stuff that happened, and there's a lot of other factors that could override El Nino. So we definitely will keep an eye on it for sure. But I will tell you guys, and we'll get into it here shortly. I know, again, we're focusing on Saturday's severe weather threat, but if you guys are wanting to know about the upcoming long-range pattern and the severe weather, it does look to turn very active into the second week in May. And I know it's a few weeks away yet, but there is a signal in the long-range guidance that I'm looking at that does suggest that we could be getting back into that late March, early April pattern, if you remember, where we had several severe weather outbreaks and a couple of major tornado outbreaks. There is a pattern that is starting to emerge in a long-range guidance. And again, it's a trend. Trends are your friend, and things can definitely change, but that's what we're seeing, and that would probably favor the middle of May. So that will be toward the second and third week in May. So we'll continue to watch that here as we get closer. I'll be updating you with that on my videos every morning. Certainly something to keep an eye on. But getting back to Saturday briefly here, let's look at the models for the timing of the storm. So let's get out of this here, out of the outlook, and let's look at the timing of when you could expect some of these storms to be rumbling their way on through. So let's go to the HRRR model here. We'll go to 18Z. So let's kind of like go back to the west here, time out what you can see the rest of tonight. Again, we have more severe weather. We got another couple of severe storms we'll get to here in a moment. That's in southwestern Mississippi. But going through the rest of tonight, so this is 6 o'clock. That's what we're seeing now, and currently we are seeing that line of storms pushing through. The southernmost of this line is actually the most severe. That's able to tap into more of the instability. That's where we're seeing the severe thunderstorm warnings here currently. So from Jackson, Mississippi, down into Louisiana, and then fishtailing its way back toward Houston. That's where we're starting to see more of that severe weather right now. Going through the rest of this evening, this is 10 o'clock. More of that line of storms will be pushing into middle and eastern Tennessee there, through Nashville, toward the Cookeville, Crossville region, down through Murfreesboro, Chattanooga, getting through Huntsville, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and then all the way south there toward the Gulf Coast. We could be seeing some severe weather with this, especially, again, the southernmost extent of this line will have the most energy to tap into. So areas like probably south of Birmingham and Tuscaloosa will have the best opportunity to see severe weather. But even then, late this evening, more of an unfavorable time of day for severe weather. The sun will be setting, the instability and energy will be going down. So I'm not terribly concerned about a widespread severe weather setup with this, but definitely something to keep an eye on over, the next couple of hours with the trends on the radar. So we'll continue to monitor that. And if anything, these will be producing mainly just damaging winds. You see how they're more linear? They're going to have more damaging wind potential with them and large hail if they are producing severe weather. All right, so that's something we're going to keep an eye on. Farther north, we're going to see here into the Ohio Valley, not talking about severe weather. This is all going to be a heavy rain setup. So from the Ohio River Valley, from Columbus here to Cincinnati to Louisville, down to Nashville, Knoxville, all these areas we're going to be seeing more of a heavy rain setup to the north. So definitely some springtime rain, greening up the lawns. That's what we're seeing farther to the north here as we go into the Ohio River Valley and then down and toward the Cumberland Plateau, the Smoky Mountains region through this evening. After midnight, things change a little bit. We start to see that line of showers and storms. Whoops, didn't want to do that. Push farther to the east. So Ohio will get in on the heavy rainfall there into central and southern Ohio, getting into eastern Kentucky, eastern Tennessee toward the Knoxville and Chattanooga region, and then this will start to enter into the Atlanta metro area. This will be well after dark. This is 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and most of these storms will be falling apart down here. So any severe weather that's left over will be few and far between, and if anything, this will probably be more so of a just a heavy rain threat as well down across these regions. So I'm not too terribly concerned about a severe weather perspective after midnight. Again, mainly just a heavy rain setup here and maybe some heavy rain farther toward the south in those areas. Okay, so let's go here toward your Saturday time frame. This is 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so waking up 7 o'clock in the morning on your Saturday. If you have any errands to run, definitely you can do so, but just monitor the weather forecast here across the mid-Atlantic and the southeast. We have this cold front pushing in, and we have to watch a couple rounds of storms. So we might have some prefrontal storms here across the Carolinas. Those could be posing a risk for damaging winds, large hail, and a couple of brief tornadoes. That is something we'll keep an eye on. But with the main lift, with the cold front back to the west here across West Virginia, getting into the western Carolinas and toward the Atlanta metro area, this will all push slowly off to the east through the day on Saturday. And whatever happens in between here, again, how much instability can build and this builds farther north will determine this overall severe weather risk and severity of the storms tomorrow afternoon and evening. Okay, so that is what we were seeing. Yeah, I'll check Chicago here in just a moment, but we're not seeing any severe weather in Chicago. You're good. So Chicago's actually just going to be seeing some colder temperatures. I'd be more concerned about frost and freeze conditions in the Chicagoland area. We'll get into that here in a moment. But if you have any plants outside, I will definitely encourage you guys to go cover your plants if you live in the Midwest, the upper Midwest, the Ohio River Valley, or the Northern Plains, the Great Lakes, all across those areas. Cover your plants, especially if you don't want them to die, to be quite honest, because it is going to get cold. There is going to be a nice cold blast coming in for the next couple of days, and we could see lows below 32 degrees. And actually, some areas toward like the Dakotas, Minnesota, we could be seeing low temperatures rather into the 20s and teens for lows. So, going to be rather cold for this time of year. So go cover those plants. Is that early track that you just said is the for the south as well in the East Coast? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Erie. You'll have to explain a little bit more. I'm guessing you're talking about this storm. The track is going to be from west to east. These storms are pushing from west to east here across the United States. Unless you're talking about what we were mentioning before with the El Nino, but yeah, 7 o'clock in the morning, watch out for these storms. These storms here could become severe, again, already at 7 o'clock in the morning. 10 o'clock, these storms start to march a little farther off to the east. But you do notice it's not a full squall line of storms. There will be breaks in here, especially with southward extent here across portions of the eastern Carolinas, and those will be the areas to watch for potential of some rotating storms. And then as we go farther north, more of coverage of storms. Getting through the midday hour, again, this will be more of a squall line to the north, and again, another line of storms trying to develop, probably more of a broken line farther south. And you see, with that marginal risk down into coastal Georgia, Florida, it might be tough to get any storms to develop during the early afternoon hours. So we're not really seeing too much down in these areas, whereas farther north, we're seeing the storms a little bit more abundant as the low pressure system is a little bit farther to the north, to the mid-Atlantic. And we're seeing a little bit more lift with that cold front up here as well. So that's the noon time frame. Getting into about, let's say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That is currently what we are seeing. And then as we go through, say, this is about 6 o'clock, and you can see the squall line extends from Philadelphia down through Virginia Beach there, getting into the Wilmington, Jacksonville region in North Carolina, and just off the coast of Myrtle Beach and Charleston. And maybe a couple of rogue thunderstorms developing on the far southern fringes down here in towards the Savannah, Georgia, and Jacksonville Beach area. So that's kind of the timing of the storms. So late afternoon, early evening, watch out here across portions of Virginia, especially, again, eastern Virginia through Maryland and the eastern Carolinas down through coastal Georgia and to northeast Florida. Those are the time frames to watch. So I'd say from about 2 o'clock in the afternoon through about 8 o'clock would be the prime time for some severe weather across those areas that I just mentioned. All right. Thank you. I just learned something I never knew about. Yeah, you're welcome. Definitely appreciate your question. Definitely. Again, I'm open to any questions you guys have. So this is the weather stream, and again, this is why I do it, because I want to answer all of your questions. And now, just because I was just mentioning the threat for some frost and freeze conditions farther to the north as well, up here in towards let's see here. Let's go to the up into the Midwest. Let's go here and look at some of the temperatures. And here you can see the colder temperatures here going through tonight into your 3 o'clock in the morning time frame on your Saturday. Excuse me. And it looks like it, again, we have some very cold temperatures, and we kind of zoom in here toward like the Dakotas. We're going to be seeing some sub-freezing temperatures. So we're seeing upper 20s, low 30s. That goes for the Bismarck area here, up toward Fargo, Grand Forks. We're going to be down to around 30, 31 degrees by your 3 o'clock in the morning time frame on your Saturday. Twin Cities, we're seeing about 32 degrees there. Rochester into southeastern Minnesota, 32. Chicago, I know that's one of the questions, 44 degrees there early on your Saturday time frame. And then getting in towards Saturday morning, some of that colder air pushes farther south. Again, we're in the low 30s west of the city and towards the western suburbs, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, around 30, 34 degrees there through your Saturday morning time frame. And even the freezing line goes a little bit farther to the south. So Kansas City will be very close to freezing there, 35, 37 degrees, not too far away from freezing. And then the warmer air again across the East Coast with that severe threat on your Saturday. And again, going into Saturday night now, we're talking about, I didn't go too far. Saturday evening, this is about 10 o'clock, and you can see a lot more of the cold air is spilling in across the upper Midwest here and getting in towards places like the Great Lakes region. All of these areas, cover your plants. Please cover the plants. If you live anywhere here where I'm circling, you need to cover your plants, okay? So that is a majority of the northern United States. Because I know a lot of us spend a lot of money on the plants here, and we definitely need to cover them because they will die, or the plants could get frostbite. So that will be something to watch. Oh, about the storms that hit the Midwest. Gotcha. Florence, Alabama. Yeah, Florence, Alabama. I'm not too concerned about it, to be honest with you. Anything in Alabama, you're good. Florence, Alabama. If I go back here to the radar right now for you, we're not seeing any of the storms really too much. Most of the rainfall for Florence is farther east, so the cold front has already passed you. The severe weather threat is over. If you had any severe weather threat today, it's over. So if you live in Florence to Huntsville's still got a little ways to go that, but Tupelo, Memphis, Florence, Nashville, Jackson, Tennessee, all you guys, you're done with the severe weather and most of the storminess for today. All right. But again, you guys have not yet pressed the like button. We got 86 people on here. I know you guys haven't all pressed that like button. Please, please, please press that thumbs up button down below. Let's get this stream out to as many people as possible here. Again, I do a lot of hard work to get this going here. I didn't have to do it this evening. I wanted to because I wanted to get some of this information along to you guys about some of the severe weather going into your Saturday and even Sunday time frame, and then talking about kind of some of the cool downs and even the long range on this live stream. So again, press that like button. I really appreciate it. You just covered your plants, Linda. Yeah, that's a good thing to do, especially the next couple days. You probably have to do it again tomorrow night, maybe even Sunday night as well, depending on how far north you live. So if you live in like the Dakotas, Minnesota, or like Detroit, those areas in like Michigan, you'll probably have to cover them up, not just tonight, but probably Saturday night and probably even Sunday night as well. And who knows, maybe even early next week. So hopefully this is our last big widespread frost and freeze of the year. We definitely can't say for certainty if it's going to be, but it looks like going into May, we start warming up a little bit more. And climatologically, we start to kind of ease back on the widespread cold outbreaks into May as well. Do you know anything about the storms about next week, where they will be? Well, the storms next week will be across the south. So the jet stream is going to be well to the south next week. So we're talking about the jet stream in California, and that could be diving down into northern Mexico next week, and then kind of something like this. So the jet stream is going to be way down to the south toward the Rio Grande Valley. So I know the Rio Grande Valley down here into Texas and into portions of the Gulf Coast, we've had some heavy rain at times, but we're going to get a lot more of it into next week. So let me go put on the GFS model for you and show you how much rainfall we're expecting over the next several days. Total precipitation here. Let me look. There we go. Going through the next, say, probably 5 to 7 days or so. We'll go all the way to the end of April here on this model run. All right, so going toward the end of April here, this is how much rain we can expect. You see the brighter colors are well far down to the south here. We do have some rain. There's not going to be an absence of rain across the Midwest. There still will be rain farther north into these areas, but it's going to be less abundant. We're going to see the most concentrated rain over the next 7 days down in these areas here. So if you live in the southern or southeastern United States, those are the areas that are going to get hardest hit by the rainfall as we go in towards the next week's time frame. And that's probably from about Tuesday through Friday, Saturday. So from Tuesday early next week through about next weekend, that is the prime time. Again, we'll have multiple waves of showers and storms, and some of these rainfall amounts could be a little bit conservative. And I know where you see the yellows and oranges here, we're talking at least 4 or 5 inches of rain over the next 7 days. There very well could be areas that see more than that. Again, you can see here it's showing about 4.5 inches there in southern Arkansas. While again, this is just one model run, but it just shows you in general how much rain we could be expecting with the setup down here. Over 3 inches into central Mississippi, maybe parts there of southern Georgia seeing up to half a foot of rain. So there will be areas there that get over 5-6 inches of rain over the next 7 or 8 days or so. Northern lower Michigan. Okay, yeah, you definitely want to cover your plants then, for sure. Yeah, so cover your plants over the next like 2 or 3 nights, and you should be good after that. Hopefully. Into early next week, hopefully you're good. And again, we won't see a complete absence of rain farther north. We're still going to get some. You see over all the way through from now to the end of the month, about 2 inches there into eastern Iowa. Decent rains. You got about an inch there into Wisconsin or into northern Illinois, maybe a half inch to an inch there in southwestern and southern Wisconsin. Decent amount of rain in the northeast. We got 1 to 2 inches in most of these areas. So a lot of wet weather coming up here, especially in the eastern 2/3 of the country. Most of this across where you see the brighter colors across the Rockies, most of this will be falling as snow. So don't worry about the rainfall over here. That's mainly going to be some late season snowfall, and it looks pretty dry for the time being across the Southwest, but this, I promise you, will be changing into May as well. So wherever you see the dry weather here, this will be changing into May. We'll be seeing more wet weather for California, Nevada, getting into Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, West Texas, even into western Kansas. I know we have an extreme drought up there. We're going to be seeing that changing in towards the early part of May. So just wait a couple more weeks and we'll start to eat away at this drought across the Great Plains a little bit. So it's going to rain. Absolutely right. Yes, it's going to rain. Yeah, allergies. A lot of and the thing is, I'm glad you brought that up as well, because a lot of this rainfall is going to make a lot of things start to pop with the pollen out there. We're going to have a lot of trees start blooming. A lot of plants are going to start blooming here into the next couple of weeks. So and that's not just for the southeast. We're talking about the Midwest. I know a lot of trees are budding up and they're leafing out already with the foliage out there. So probably going to start seeing a lot more springtime allergies here if you haven't already in the next couple of weeks. So just a forewarning for you there. Will I continue to see the wet weather? Well, I don't know exactly where you reside in the United States. Otherwise, I could tell you. So you'll have to be more specific. What about Greenfield, Ohio? Greenfield, Ohio, anywhere in Ohio up here for rainfall amounts going into next week, we're averaging around an inch to 2 inches. Again, it's hard to determine how, which areas would get the heaviest rain, but by far the heaviest rain will probably be farther south, like Kentucky, West Virginia, into like the Roanoke area, Richmond, Virginia there. But there certainly could be some decent rains into parts of Ohio getting into next week here. You can see the greens in here. So definitely about an inch or so of rain through the next 7 or 8 days. Pollen is bad in northern lower Michigan. Yeah, I imagine so. A lot of the trees and a lot of the flowers and plants are starting to bloom all at once. So, and again, it takes just a little bit of rain and some dry days, and boom, you get a lot of these plants will start blooming very quickly. Absolutely. All right, so let's look here at one more thing real quick, and before I take any of your questions again, and that is the dew points real quick. You notice going into the end of April, you see the dew points, the darker colors down here are across the Gulf, or pretty much limited to the Gulf Coast and the southeast. That is going to basically shut off everything severe weather-wise across the mainland United States. In exception to the Southern Plains, the Dixie Alley, and the Gulf Coast states. That's it. That's all the severe weather will be going through the end of April. So we're not going to be seeing any severe weather through the end of the month up here into the Midwest. No severe weather expected. No severe weather expected largely across the Great Plains unless you are south of the Red River. If you're into North Texas or southern portions of Oklahoma there and like the Arklatex, you may see some isolated severe storms from time to time, and that could translate farther east into this environment. But anywhere across these areas up here toward the north, forget about it. There's going to be no severe weather through the end of April. Okay, so that just wanted to get that out there for you. I'm in Florence, Alabama, so next week is that something I need to watch out for? Severe weather. I'm not concerned about that next week. While there could be a couple of marginal and slight risk severe weather days, which would equate to a level 1 out of 5 or a level 2 out of 5 on the scale, I think majority of the storms in this environment will be producing mainly just efficient rainfall. So we're just going to see a lot of heavy rain. But if any severe weather were to occur, it would be mainly with damaging winds and large hail. The tornado threat is going to remain very low. We're going to see a very weak jet stream across these areas with regards to severe weather. What should northern Delaware expect over the next few days? If you live in northern Delaware, just expect some heavier rainfall going over the next few days and really into next week. Kind of a rainy setup every other day or so. With the cold front coming in on Saturday, you guys could be expecting potentially some stronger storms potentially, but I don't think the biggest severe weather threat you've ever seen across these regions. So let's go back here and show you real quick what Delaware could see. We'll zoom in here to Delaware. Again, the Georgetown area here. There's Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, Salisbury, all these areas. This is going into tonight, so you're good tonight. You got nothing happening there. Going through tonight, all the rainfall is farther off there toward your west. Going into the overnight hours, starting off Saturday, you're good. You're still good there in northern Delaware. Nothing to worry about. And then farther to the west, that's that cold front coming in. We have to watch some severe storms as we go towards that late morning time frame, but that'll only be back into Virginia, Maryland. That's actually western Maryland and into southwestern Pennsylvania. That's kind of what we're seeing. Let me go back over here to the 18Z so we can get more of a read on this here. All right, so let's go back again. So this is through the day. Going through, though, the afternoon, you will want to watch for the threat for a line of storms. So this will be a squall line moving in across Baltimore, Washington, D.C., down through Richmond and Virginia Beach there, and then up through Harrisburg. If you live in northern Delaware, I'd watch out for a line of storms with some damaging wind potential and large hail through about around the 4, 5, and 6 o'clock time frame. So later tomorrow. This will be a later event for you, and we could be talking about potentially maybe some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, some quarter-size hail, and possibly a tornado threat, but I think you're a little too far north if you live in northern Delaware for tornadoes. But things could still change, and then that squall line will kind of hang around for a couple hours, and then it'll clear on out going toward the midnight time frame and after midnight. So it'll be kind of a one-time deal for you. You're dry most of Saturday. Midday, there could be a couple of storms firing up ahead of the main line. We will watch those for rotating storms there. They could produce tornadoes. And then going through the afternoon, this will be more of a squall line that's with the main cold front, damaging winds, large hail, the main threat with heavy rain, and then that'll clear out after midnight. So that's what we're seeing in northern Delaware. All right. Yeah, you're welcome. You're definitely welcome. My daughter is flying out of Raleigh tomorrow at 7 p.m. Do you think there will be any weather disruptions? Raleigh, let's go down here. So, Raleigh, yes, okay. So, you said 7 p.m. tomorrow, right? All right, so let's go through here. So going through tonight, it's very quiet in Raleigh, even toward the 3 a.m. time frame on your Saturday. There will be storms erupting back toward the Asheville region, Johnson City into Knoxville, back well to the west. This is the Western Carolinas at 3 o'clock in the morning. This will push farther to the east. We got a little bit of at least a broken line of storms by 8 o'clock in the morning approaching Raleigh there. These storms will push through by 11, 12 o'clock. Another line tries to form by the early afternoon. These would be the storms to produce the threat for tornadoes, damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour and some large hail. Obviously, some heavy rainfall as well. That'll push through. And then by 7 o'clock, everything looks dry here into the Raleigh area. The storms will be off to the east. So they'll be exiting off the coast there by 7 o'clock. So your daughter should be fine. Your daughter should be fine unless the model changes a little bit more in the next couple of frames. I think that everything should be fine in the central and western Carolinas by about dinner time tomorrow, 6, 7, 8 o'clock. So you should be good. And those storms will continue to push off the coast through the midnight time frame. So that'll go into Sunday. All right. Matt says upstate South Carolina the next few days. Upstate South Carolina the next few days. It looks pretty wet. We got some storms possibly tomorrow. Down into South Carolina, it's more of a wild card. Again, we have a broken line of storms early on your Saturday. Another line tries to develop. This one could go severe going into your mid-afternoon on Saturday. Watch out for those if you live into like Columbia, Florence, down here toward Myrtle Beach or Charleston. But then other than that, we clear on out going for the rest of the weekend for the most part. But you will be seeing some heavy rain. So with that setup of rainfall next week, it does look like you're going to get into some heavy rain here into portions of next week. So let's go to the GFS like I was showing earlier on, and total precipitation. Again, take this with a grain of salt, but this kind of gives you a good idea of what you can expect going through the next 7 days or so through the end of April. You could be seeing possibly a few inches of rain here over the next 7 days, 1 to 3, maybe 4 inches at times in some spots there into South Carolina, especially upstate South Carolina there. So get ready for some green lawns there. So lots of mowing going on over the next couple of weeks. Please, no more rain in Wisconsin. The rivers are completely out of their banks. Really? So the Wisconsin River is out of the bank? Flooding already? Yeah, I know a lot of the snow melt up there is creating a lot of problems there on the Wisconsin River and the Mississippi River. I know the Mississippi River from La Crosse to Dubuque down to the Davenport, Quad Cities, and Clinton area, and then probably even as far south as St. Louis is in flood in some parts of the river, the Mississippi. So very interesting. And it kind of looking at this going over the next 7 days or so. The good news is upstream, like into portions of, with the exception of more snow melt up here that could add to more of the problems in the rivers. It does look like for the most part the tributary and also the main area upstream from you in Wisconsin into like the Twin Cities, La Crosse, Duluth, we don't have a lot of rain. You see a lot of lighter green up here over the next 7 days, so that's some good news. So hopefully the river remains steady or starts to slowly drop off with the river levels over the next week or two. But certainly there's definitely more snow that has to melt up there, so there's probably going to be more issues, unfortunately. Weather on the Go, the place to go for your updated weather forecast. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, absolutely. My mom went to Cookeville, Tennessee today and won't be back till Sunday. Will she be okay? Yeah, your mom will be good. Your Cookeville, Tennessee, I'm not worried. No severe storms there. Because if we zoom in down here toward the Cookeville region, there's Cookeville, Tennessee. Let's go to the composite reflectivity, 18Z here. And let's kind of time this out again. You can see going through the rest of today once it decides to load. There we go. You can see the line of storms pushing through Cookeville this evening. That's mainly going to be just some heavy rain, so I'm not too concerned about that. And then as this pushes through to the east, we're going to clear out and we'll be fine the rest of the weekend there. Maybe a brief shower or a thunderstorm there in towards Sunday morning, but that is going to be probably, that system is going to be pretty parched, so we're not going to be worrying about too much rain with that one. Yeah, hopefully those rivers will go down. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully no more flooding. Hopefully we stop some of the flooding over the next couple of weeks. But there is a lot of snowmelt that still has to be had up across the northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, Lake Superior, the Dakotas region. So we'll be watching it there. Hey, Smart Dilly, how you doing? Thanks for joining. We need some rain, so I'm not going to complain. Thank you, sir. Absolutely. No problem. Yeah, I know you guys need some rain there in the southeast as well, and a lot of you guys down in the south. With the La Nina, the past 3 years is really giving you a lot of problems with the drought, so I agree. Tim says they say the rivers could be the second or third highest on record. Really? Wow. Record is 25 plus feet in 1965. Wow. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. I know looking back at like when I was looking at some of the data, what the spring flooding outlook could look like back in like December, it was pretty impressive. I knew there was going to be a lot of snow in the upper Midwest, but it kind of overachieved of what I thought would happen. I know the Twin Cities were supposed to have a lot of snow this winter, but I did not see all these, I did not see the parade of snowstorms coming. So yeah, the Twin Cities kind of overachieved with the snowfall this year, and that's leading to a lot of runoff. Because if you imagine, if you come up here and you have here's the rivers that what we're talking about up here, we have the Wisconsin River, and we have also we have the Wisconsin River, and then we have the Mississippi River as well. So here is the Mississippi, and what we're talking about. Here's La Crosse, and you go all the way down here through Prairie du Chien to Dubuque, and then all the way down to Clinton, Iowa. Clinton, Iowa is down in here. And then you have Dubuque up here, Prairie du Chien, and then La Crosse. And those are the areas we're watching for the Mississippi River. Now, the Wisconsin River is kind of right there. It kind of meets up with the Mississippi right at Prairie du Chien, or just before then, and kind of feeds up into like places like central Wisconsin here. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of runoff. I definitely agree with you. There's a lot of record flooding going on. It's 25 plus feet. Wow. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't go over the road there in your at the house. That would not be good. You've been taking your allergy pills. That's good. Helps with all the allergies this spring. Yeah, the grass is greened up at my place. I live in northern Illinois, and we've had a lot of rain recently. We probably could use some more, but not a lot. But definitely getting the mowing season ready once this cold blast moves on through. Once it warms up again, I'll be mowing. I'm lucky to be alive. When I was a kid, I was in Monterey, Tennessee, and I heard sirens, never knew what it meant, but it got really dark outside and it was raining hard. And when I walked outside, I saw a funnel cloud. Really? Wow. Yeah, I've seen a funnel cloud a couple times. But it's pretty rare. It was forming over the trailer above me. I didn't know what that was either, but now, me being older, it's scary what Mother Nature brings to the table. Yeah, Mother Nature is unpredictable sometimes, and you just gotta kind of take it or leave it. I mean, when there is severe weather, if you have a basement or storm shelter, always great options to stay safe from tornadoes or anything severe weather wise. Stay away from windows is another important thing. And again, just move indoors in general. And that's not even just for severe weather. If there is a thunderstorm, move indoors definitely helps out. But again, guys, press that like button. We only have 70 likes. We need 30 more likes to get to 100. So keep pressing that thumbs up button down below. I appreciate everybody joining. Again, hope everybody's having a great Friday out there. We're going to keep tracking these storms into this weekend. I may end up going live tomorrow for the afternoon and evening, tracking some of the severe weather across the East Coast. So note that. I may be going live tomorrow. Not a guarantee, but definitely a possibility. But for sure, I will have a video out for you guys tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. So do be sure to watch that video. I'll have a lot of great information. We'll also look ahead to the long range again into May, see what the trends are showing again. So, and speaking of that, let's kind of look at this a little bit further. Okay, I know we're going to get a little crazy here. We're going to look real far out on the GFS, but I want to show you something here that's very interesting to me. So let me go here to the dew points, and this will change a million times. I'm not, saying it won't. Let's go to the 12Z GFS, a little more accurate here, and let's go like 200 hours out. So let's go here in toward the end of April. So you see, again, like I was mentioning many times earlier, that the dew points are going to be muted and mainly maximized down here across the eastern to like the southeastern side of the country. It's going to be very, very inactive. Anywhere north of here, we're not seeing any of these dew points rising farther to the north. So a lot of this will be pushed farther to the south. We have that cold front coming in. The cold front kind of sitting like right in there. We're going to be kind of watching that in toward the end of April. But as we go into early May, things start to change a little bit, okay? And we start to see those changes already. You start to see the Gulf of Mexico turning a little bit. So you see how the front moves farther to the south, but then we pick up the moisture and kind of toss it back over here towards the coastal Texas, and this would be the start of our potentially active pattern getting in toward early May. Now, it may take a few days through May. May will probably start off a lot of cool weather, a lot of rain, probably not a lot of severe weather, but it does look like we're going to start off May. And again, some of these dew points will try to work its way back toward Texas. And you see the 1st of May not seeing too much of anything crazy. We start to see some moisture return maybe by the first week in May. It will be modest, but it will be coming up back through the Great Plains. So maybe the central southern plains, we may have to watch out for some marginal type of severe weather events getting into the first week there into May. Should not be too big of a deal with the cool air sticking around there. And again, look at this. Again, this will change a million times, okay? But take this with a grain of salt. But the big picture is what the reason I bring this up, and I'm going so far out here, is because we see the potential for more dry line setups here with a dry line and then seeing more moisture to the east. This could mean more tornadic potential and severe weather again across this area. So we'll be watching that. And a warm front that could lift farther north, kind of setups like this, where we have a low up here. We got the dry line, warm front, and a big surge of moisture farther north. We could have big systems like that as early as the first week there in May. We'll be tracking that potential. And then again, then the moisture really starts to fill in as we get toward the second week in May. You start to see more of those deeper colors initially down across the mid and lower Mississippi Valley. But I promise you, this will lift farther to the north than what this is showing. So that is what we are going to be looking at. And again, going even farther out here, that process will repeat itself again. If we have a big system, we're going to have a cold front that's going to be getting rid of all the moisture, and then the moisture will gather itself again and then lift back up and north. That's the pattern we're going to see through through May. We're going to see that pattern repeat itself several times where we have moisture moving northward. We got a low pressure system. We got a warm front up here, a dry line, and then we have all the moisture lifting north. And then once that cold front moves farther toward the east here and gets rid of all the moisture, it's going to move all the way to the east coast. And then we're going to pick up the moisture again and we're going to toss it back north. And then another trough will come along across the southwestern United States with a low down here. And the same type of thing will happen again. We get another big cold front and another dry line setup potentially and warm front, and we do it all over again. So that is the pattern that looks to become more active into the second week in May and toward the middle of the month. So that is the trend I'm seeing. We'll continue to watch it for sure as it gets closer. No need to panic though. But this does look eerily similar to a pattern that we just experienced in late March and early April. Now, will it be as severe? Will we have as many tornadoes? Will we have as many severe weather outbreaks, and how intense they are? Those are big million-dollar questions I can't answer right now. So we'll just continue to watch it. Is there any weather coming towards Pilot Mountain, North Carolina throughout the week? Yeah, there's going to be a lot of rainfall in these areas. So just scroll back here in the live stream. I was talking about there's a lot of rainfall in these areas. I think there's going to be a lot of these areas down here in the southeast. We'll see about 2 to 4 inches of rain over the next 7 to 10 days. So that's what we're expecting. Shawnee, Oklahoma was it was not a category 3. It was an EF3. Category 3, that would be a hurricane. But I get what you're saying, Linda. Absolutely. Yeah, it was an EF3 preliminary rating in the Shawnee, or I think, was it Shawnee or was it Cole? I thought it was Cole, Oklahoma. When do you think that pattern will change? Which pattern? The one I'm talking about? Well, I have no idea, because if we're talking about middle of May, I mean, we're not going to go too far out. I'll have a summer video out for you guys on May 10th. I know. Yeah, it was a pretty big radar return there with the tornado down in this area. There's a big supercell that moved through south central Oklahoma here that started like back in this area and then kind of moved like this across portions of like the southern side of the Oklahoma City metro area. That is the one you're talking about. Had a lot of hail and even a couple tornadoes on it. That was a pretty impressive looking supercell. I'm not gonna Yeah, that was a pretty impressive looking supercell. There was a lot of those that were producing a lot of large hail back there on, what was it? What's today? Friday, back on Wednesday and Thursday. So very interesting. All right, so that's what we're looking at, guys. That is the update. Again, I'll have another update for you guys in the morning. I do appreciate everybody joining. Much appreciated. Thank you guys so much. I wanted to say I hit 29,000 subscribers today, and I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting the channel. Again, it couldn't be done without you, so thank you. We're up to 29,000, so over 29,000 here today. We're at to 29,023. All right, the next goal is 30,000 here in the next few days, so hopefully we can do so. And again, if you haven't watched my weather video yet, go watch it. Lots of great information in there from today. Leave a like, leave a comment down below, and again, share it with friends and family and on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, anything. Share my weather stuff on there, on my channel, my videos, all my live streams. Definitely much appreciated. We only need 19 more likes to get 100 likes on this live stream, so I appreciate that. And again, we're on the road to 100,000. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, okay? So that's the outlook for this channel. My goal is to have 100,000 likes, or 100,000 subscribers rather, by the end of 2023. So that would be the goal. All right, so thank you so much for showing the support, everybody. It really does help. It really does. The $2 donations, even though it doesn't seem like a lot, it really does help, guys. I really appreciate that your $2 donations, your $5 donations. You guys don't even have to donate at all. I mean, you guys literally are here with me right now on the live stream and watch my videos every day. That's all I need, so thank you. Thank you so much, Ice Cream. And Linda, thanks for joining. Tim Key, thank you for joining. Much appreciated. Hopefully the river starts to fall with the flood levels there here in the next few weeks. I know hopefully going into the summer, I will tell you, Tim, that this summer we're not worried about drought. The new drought outlook actually came out the other day. I looked at it. I went to the Climate Prediction Center's outlook for that, Tim, and I saw that the seasonal outlook for drought is nothing for Wisconsin or Illinois. So that tells me we're going to have an active pattern through the rest of spring and summer at times. And it doesn't show any drought all the way through July 31st on their outlook. So that's good news. So a lot of mowing up there in Wisconsin and into northern Illinois here. So thank you so much, Ice Cream, for subscribing and liking. Much appreciated. Yeah, so I'm not worried about drought up in Wisconsin, not worried about drought really in the Midwest. I think the areas of concern for drought this summer that I'm seeing right now with the new outlook the Climate Prediction Center came out with is mainly in these two areas that I'm focusing on, is the Four Corners region at times down in this area, and then across parts of maybe up here into like the northern Rockies. Those are the areas where I'm kind of more concerned about the drought long term through the summer. Have a good night, Xavier Extreme Weather. Thank you. Again, thank you to Xavier's Extreme Weather, Ice Cream, Linda, Tim Key. Thank you so much. And also to Matthew. Thank you for joining. Thank you to Rain Maves and Coleman. Thanks for joining. Yeah, answer your question. Some storm tomorrow in Texas. Yeah, there'll be some storms in Texas. Probably not too many severe storms. Thank you to Smart Dilly and Matt and David. Thanks for joining. Thanks to EP and all. Thanks for joining as well. Nancy, thank you for joining. Roses and Red, thank you for joining. Erie, thanks. Monster, thank you for joining. Jordan, Forecaster Mia, thanks for joining. Hello. Hope you're having a great Friday evening. Joe, Clayton, April Brooks, Dawn, thank you for joining as well. And Matt Mittens, thank you. All you guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's a good thing. I don't see any drought up there in Wisconsin at all. So should be good to go there. So hopefully, with that said, with no drought expected in Wisconsin, hopefully you guys don't see a lot of flooding into the summer. I don't think so. I think it'll dry out by May, especially toward the end of May and early June. I think the rivers will start to really go back. I think there might actually be a period where the Wisconsin River in particular probably goes pretty far below flood stage there for a while. It might actually go pretty low there for a while toward the middle of summer. All right. Yeah, Virginia, thanks for joining again. Yeah, Matt Mittens, you're in Virginia. Yeah, watch out for the severe storms tomorrow. We'll keep an eye on it. Again, I'll have another video tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the morning. We will be tracking the threat for some severe storms. I may go live tomorrow. Again, keep your eyes peeled for that. Otherwise, I will see you guys in my video tomorrow. Again, here's the outlook for tomorrow. I'll leave you with this. Watch out for, again, severe weather, and especially the yellow shaded color there from Washington, D.C. to Richmond, Virginia, getting down to Virginia Beach, Wilmington, Raleigh, and then getting as far south there as Myrtle Beach and also the Charleston area. But we also could have severe weather there into Savannah, Georgia, Jacksonville, Orlando, and as far south as Daytona Beach going in towards your Saturday. Maybe a small marginal risk back here into Texas, the Texas Hill Country area. We'll be watching there and towards the Odessa region, just east of there, and towards portions of, let's see here, and towards San Angelo, Brownwood, and south of Abilene. But that will mainly be for some quarter-size hail and stuff like that. All right. Please do not spam my live stream, cool guys. Thank you again. Yes, hello. Thank you. But do not spam it. All right. What about Cincinnati? Cincinnati, you guys are not going to see severe weather. Just some rain through tonight. That's it. Drying out for tomorrow. All right. Thank you for joining. Have a good rest of your evening, good weekend, and I'll see you in my video tomorrow or live stream. Good night, everybody.